Welcome back to Real World Rides. Well, I'm sat here in leather-lined luxury in a car designed by Giugiaro and a car with a Ferrari V8 engine producing nearly 400 horsepower. And it's all yours for the cost of less than a Golf. Let's take a closer look. This is the Maserati Coupe. Handsome car, I think you'll agree. It might not be quite up to Pininfarina standards, but it's a car still that's designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro. I think I've said that correctly. A man from Italdesign with a long list of cars, including several Ferraris and the Maserati Bora of the 1970s. So this is a car with some pedigree. Well, what I don't quite understand is why it's so cheap, because the car you see in front of me is, well, I don't want to be so crass as to put an exact price on it, but let's say you couldn't buy a very decent Volkswagen Golf for the same money brand new. And that, in my eyes, makes it something of a bargain. Just look at it, it's just so handsome. It helps this one is finished in a colour called Grigio Nuvolari. Nuvolari being a long deceased Italian racing driver with some pedigree, including the Mille Miglia, and Grigio meaning grey. So there you go, racing driver grey. But it looks good though, doesn't it? One interesting point to note is the 4200, as the coupe is also called, has these tail lights which are not anywhere near as interesting as the car that went before it. The 3200, which looks very similar, has what's called boomerang rear lights, and these were visually a lot nicer and they really looked the part. But the 3200 was an inferior car, and they did away with the boomerang lights because the American market didn't care for them, which I think was a mistake. But all things considered, this is still a very handsome car. Check out the Brembo brakes, drilled no less, and calipers. At the front here you have the traditional Maserati Trident. And there's nothing quite so evocative as a Maserati badge. Yes, you mainly have a Golf budget, but you can still say you drive a Maserati, and that's not bad, is it? And check out this styling detail on the back pillar. It sort of looks like there should be some sort of duct there. It's almost like a house where the doorway has been bricked up, but it works. And the alloys, they're not even that big by today's standard. I think, are they 17s? Oh no, they're 18 inch, which seemed quite large back in 2003, but by today's standard they really do look quite small. But it's a good looking car. Look at the four pipes at the back, and they sound really good too. And the Maserati badge, that just looks amazing. Look at the badging. Okay, this one maybe could do with a bit of polish, but you know what I mean. Even the boot's not too bad. Look at all that room. If I cared, I would try and fit a set of golf clubs in there, because I don't know if they will or not, but I hate golf, so I'm not going to. But you'd certainly get your little Louis Vuitton weekend bag in there, or to be fair, what these are worth now, you'd probably get it from Tesco or Walmart. But you certainly look the part putting your Tesco or Walmart bag in the back. Let's have a look at the interior. Ah yes, look at that. What a classy place to spend time. The leather is in a lovely Werther's Original colour, which is, I don't know if you guys in the States have got Caramac. Well, it's sort of caramel brown, but I think it suits the Maserati quite well. You get lots of niceties in here. So you've got heated electric memory seats. Got some natty Maserati lettering on the centre console here. Electric mirrors. And you have a very outdated sat nav. which looks like something you played in the 1970s. But apart from that, the interior really is quite nice. It even has a Maserati crest on the head of the headrests. And no true Maserati would be a true Maserati without an analog clock. Yes, it looks like it's made by Seiko, but frankly, it's not a real Maserati unless it's got one of these. It's just a tradition they have. I don't know why, you have to ask them. They're Italian, but in its own way, it might look like something your nan wore, but it kind of looks alright in the dashboard, don't you think? Now, you may see this car is not a manual. Now, a man called Doug reviewed this very car quite recently, and he came to the conclusion the manual was the one to have. Well, he didn't drive the one with the F1 gearbox, which is what this is. This is basically a Ferrari F1 paddle shift transmission as used in the 575, and I don't seem to remember too many people complaining about that. Neither did 60% of buyers either, because that's what percentage went for the Cambio Corsa gearbox. And yes, it does take a bit of getting used to. It's not just jump in and go if you've never driven one before. But once you're used to it, and you can also have it in a full automatic mode, which is a real bonus if you're driving around a city, it's a much better gearbox in my opinion than the manual, which is heavy and slow and outdated by comparison. And I think perhaps the comparison has been made unfairly because people have experience of cars now with modern dual clutch transmissions, which of course are much, much faster than the F1 fitted to this, the Cambio Corsa. But when you take into account the car's age and get used to its slightly more relaxed style than a modern DCT, you begin to understand why the transmission in this car makes sense. Now, let's have a look at the business end of things. And I think you'll agree that this is one area where this car really excels. Look at the red crackle cam covers here with the Maserati script. And look at that handsome, handsome big lump in the middle. Look at the trident. Gets me excited just looking at it. Well, that's nothing compared to what it sounds like, because that is another reason to buy one of these. Let's have a go. Just wait for the fuel pump to kick in. Not overly loud like a Ferrari, sort of like a subtle Ferrari. Sorry, I had to turn it off because I was getting a little bit excited at the noises that it was making. And unfortunately, because we're currently in lockdown, I can't show you the car on the road. I can't really go anywhere. So I can't demonstrate why I really do like the Cambio Corsa gearbox, which seems to be against everyone else's opinion. But hey, I've got one and I've driven it and I like it. And I've also driven the manual, and I don't like the manual as much as I like the flappy paddles. But it also provides a fantastic soundtrack when you're driving. It just sounds fabulous. And the ride quality, although it's quite stiff, it's not too bad. It's certainly a good GT car, which is really what it's designed to be. I think these got a bit of unfair stick from the motoring press when they were new, because people were expecting them to be really raw and hard-edged, which they're not. But they sound great. They go really well. 0 to 60 on these is, I think, about 4.7 seconds. So even by today's standards, that is a quick car. And it also does 177 miles an hour where applicable. So overall, I think for all their faults, of which there's a few, like say the build quality isn't amazing, The styling is nice, but there's certainly a lot better looking cars out there, certainly Italian ones. But for the money, I think there is nothing else on the road to touch it. They are just a really, really good car. And I think in 5-10 years' time, these will be looked back on as being seriously undervalued. So while they're cheap, I would go and buy a good one right now. So there you have it, Maserati Coupe. As the saying goes, champagne car for lemonade money. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.